I'm going to ask you something that might hit a nerve. If your income stopped tomorrow, how long could you actually survive? I've worked with doctors and lawyers and execs earning anything from $250,000 to $500,000 and even more. And some of them still can't answer that question confidently. The truth is, making more money won't automatically make you wealthy. In fact, if you don't avoid these 3 traps, you could end up being broke no matter how much you earn. So let's unpack it. So the reported statistics say that 62% of US consumers now currently live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes 48% of consumers earning more than $100,000 annually. Similarly, here in Australia, 42% of households earning $100,000 could live off their savings for maybe 3 months if they suddenly became jobless. Now look, whether or not those stats are true or not, there is clearly a problem here. A scary proportion of people are running out of money before payday. So what does living paycheck to paycheck even mean? Now, when I talk about living paycheck to paycheck, I mean that if your income stopped tomorrow, you would be broke. Now, firstly, some of you are going to say that there is a big difference in living on pay to pay on $250,000 versus $50,000 income. You would tell me that when you're on $250,000, if your pay dried up, you should be able to move money around and get by. And you would be right and wrong. I have met plenty of people who earn high 6 figures and who are under enormous debt and financial load. So before we get into it, I think it's worth pulling the stats apart a little bit, because there are 3 broad types of people who could technically say they are living pay to pay. Number 1 is people who redline their finances because they are living frugally and building assets. They have the option to sell them in the event of an emergency. Number 2 is people who take on massive mortgages or debt, and that leaves them struggling for cash flow to live. And number 3 are people who basically spend everything they earn and spend like there's no tomorrow. They're all technically living pay to pay, but I'm really speaking to numbers 2 and 3. So I want to mention the myth of high income earners and wealth. So most people believe earning more is the key to getting rich. Years ago, I worked with a dentist who was earning over $500,000. But by the time they paid for their mortgage, school fees, holiday and credit card bills, they were behind. Now, when they came to see me, they were teary with the disappointment for how their life had turned out. They'd grown up dirt poor and had chosen dentistry to change their financial future. Sounds insane, right? But this is way more common than you might think. And why? Because making more money often leads to lifestyle inflation, bad spending habits, and financial blind spots. Many people think a higher income is going to solve all their money problems, but often it just leads to a new kind of money pain. On the flip side, I've met and worked with many people who had less than a 6-figure income who retire in their early 30s because they master their money early and follow a plan. So the key takeaway here is wealth isn't about what you can buy, but it's about how long you can keep your lifestyle without working. So if the goal is to get out of the rat race and become financially independent, what is it that gets in the way? So I want to mention lifestyle creep, which is the silent wealth killer. So lifestyle creep is the phenomenon that happens when people find ways to justify spending more money on lifestyle as they earn more. Years ago, I sat in on a workshop of executive women. They were smart and capable, top of their game, and I heard them discussing how to position themselves for career success and ultimately more pay. And the organizer asked me to do an impromptu interview. And I kind of threw them a curveball by saying, you'll have spent that increased pay before it even hits your account. Most of them reluctantly agreed. It's easy to look backwards and realize that you are no better off. When income rises, so do expectations. Bigger house, nicer car, more expensive vacations. But the problem is that most people match or exceed their spending to their incomes. I deserve it thinking. This is the high earner trap. So for example, a doctor earning $300,000 but financing $1 million home, multiple car payments and private school tuition, zero financial cushion. So the takeaway here is if you're not consciously thinking about what will happen as you earn more, it's highly likely to disappear into lifestyle spending. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you should spend it. Now let's talk about debt, which is the high income earner's secret struggle. So the funny thing about debt is it's hard to get when you need it, but as you earn more, the banks and other lenders are desperate to give it to you. High income earners qualify for more debt and they use it. Mortgages, car loans, personal loans, credit cards, business loan, it all adds up. And as long as I make the payments I'm fine thinking is wrong. Let me give you some real world examples. A 2009 Sports Illustrated article reported that 60% of NBA players encounter financial distress within 5 years of retirement. Bankruptcy filings for clinics and physicians surged in 2024 by 60%. So the big takeaway is debt can be a powerful tool in the right circumstances, or it can be a noose around your neck. It's incredibly hard to build wealth when you saddle yourself up with debt as your income grows. Finally, the illusion of wealth, status versus financial freedom. One of the problems with earning more money is that you're usually in contact with other people who earn similar money and who in turn influence your thinking and habits on money. Society rewards the appearance of more wealth than actual wealth. So you end up with your fake rich and you're truly wealthy. So the fake rich, they have high income, high spending, high debt. The truly wealthy, they live below their means, they build assets and they invest. So the example is the millionaire next door versus the guy flexing on Instagram. The fastest way to lose wealth is to try and look rich. So your ability to ignore unhelpful spending habits and money beliefs is absolutely crucial to your success. So let's talk about the fix. How do you build wealth regardless of income? There is a reality about how much it costs to live before discretionary items. You need to figure out what that number is first. Everything else can be thought of as discretionary. So non-discretionary are things like bills, insurances, rents, mortgage, student loans, utilities, the cost for you to live. Discretionary is everything else you can play with. Everything from groceries, food, clothes, entertainment, travel, etc. Have a rule for how much you save every week, regardless of your income. That is your minimum savings goal. And before your pay goes up, decide how you'll allocate it between lifestyle and savings and investments. Because if you don't do this, you can guarantee it's going to evaporate into lifestyle. Finally, reflection is critical. Think about what influences your decisions to spend. Do you have friends with expensive habits? Do you feel pressure to spend in a certain way? What money habits can you see in others that are helpful or unhelpful? Being broke is tough, no question. But thinking that earning more money means your money problems disappear is not true for most people. I've been a wealth guide for over a decade now. I've seen it firsthand. The only solution to all of this is to change your money habits and beliefs. If you're earning good money but not building wealth, it's time to make a change. And if you're still figuring out how to grow your income, build good money habits today so that when you start earning more, you can be way more powerful with it. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share. And if you want some help with this, please download the 7-step money system that changed my life.